Good evening and welcome back to Monday Night News. We're glad you're watching. So doctors in Kenya have been on strike for 78 days now and counting. There are negotiations that are ongoing, being mediated by the Law Society of Kenya alongside the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. Joining me in studio tonight are three officials from the Kenya Medical Dentist, Pharmacist, KMPDU. Is the full, before I start mixing it all up. So next to me is Dr. Allan Ochanji, he's the second vice chair. Then we have Dr. Daisy Korir, the treasurer of KMPDU, and Dr. Mwachonda Chibanzi, deputy secretary general. Thank you for joining us. I'll begin with Dr. Korir, and straightforward question for most Kenyans is 78 days and counting. Why are you still on strike?
Thank you very much, Sophia. I think it's been 78 days of a painful experience, even for us as doctors, because we set out on a strike after having been failed in that we had a document that we signed in 2013, and up until now, even 78 days of a strike, it has not yet been implemented. So doctors in Kenya are still on strike because the issue that made them go on strike the first time has not yet been addressed.
Yeah.
Yes.
And those are issues that we saw the court coming out to say this was not registered, the strike was ruled illegal, that is why you spent 2 nights in jail. So Kenyans are wondering at this particular point, Dr. Chibanzi, what are those sticky areas that you're not agreeing on? What is that one reason you can tell us tonight as Kenyans that we are not going back to work because on this one, we don't agree?
By now, the process has been subjected to a court-directed mediation process. It is quite a confidential process. But as Dr. Daisy has said here, when doctors left their stations of work on the 5th of December, it was subject to a grievance that was the collective bargaining agreement signed in 2013. So that is the same reason why doctors are yet to go back to work, because there is no implementation of the document as we speak, and we are not yet at a point where we can say the document will be implemented, and so that doctors can go back to work.
Yeah. Dr. Ochanji, there was a tweet and rather a post on Facebook from Dennis Itumbi, who's one of the officials in State House with the digital department. Everything about the patient Mwananchi was agreed on. Doctors refused to sign. Doctors refused to lower their demands on salaries. Government insisted that it cannot afford what you're asking for, which is 221 to 1.2 million shillings. And basically, the only statement, according to this tweet, is salary. Is that correct?
That statement is very unfortunate, coming at a very critical time. As my colleague has rightfully put it, we are bound by confidentiality clause. And even to us, as we're sitting here tonight, we are asking who would have given that information, because we are bound by certain clauses that whatever goes on in the process of mediation should not, in fact, leak out. And finding ourselves in the situation that it is, I would say it's very unfortunate. It's a tweet that is meant to get a desired outcome. Us as a union, we are committed fully to this process, and we believe that a solution will be found. So we want to treat it as one of the many rumors, one of the so many items that have been put against the union, so that we look as if we are unreasoning and are not sympathetic to the public. I want to say that from the word go, we sympathize so much with our patient, and we really feel that a solution should be found so that we don't find ourselves in this situation.
Because sympathizing, that for some may look at it and struggle with that particular statement, because tonight what you're telling us is you cannot tell us why you're still on strike
I think
because
Sophia,
of the confidentiality, and I agree on that. But you also feel, because the government in a statement the other day criticized and accused the opposition of politicizing this. So as doctors, do you feel that this agenda and whatever you're fighting for has been, taken over by politicians and that you're not in control anymore?
So, Sophia, I think it's important, first of all, to set a record straight. When you say that you're in a mediation process, then all parties, and when I say all parties, that includes all parties, including the mediators, are bound by a confidentiality agreement that you agree upon, that as we enter this process, then these are the rules we will abide by. And one of the rules is that you should not be disclosing items that are still being negotiated. You can only come out at the end of the mediation process and say, now, between the parties, we have this agreement, and then you release it out to the public. So I think it is unfortunate and in bad faith that you would have, people claiming to know what is going on in a mediation process and actually putting it out to the public. I think it's very unfortunate. And we as the union, for ourselves, we think we want to negotiate in good faith, and therefore we cannot come out and start substantiating, or explaining such utterances by people out there in the social media. So whoever is putting out those items, then nobody can verify whether they are true or not, because they're not part of the mediation process. Okay. And so as for the issue of whether this process has been hijacked by politicians, I would like to say that as a union, we strongly say that that is not true, because as a union, we've always maintained focus on what it is that we set out to achieve, and that's exactly what we are trying to do. So there have been many attempts or many other situations that could have hijacked this process to make it a political process. But so far, we can confidently say as a union that we are still apolitical. And us as doctors of Kenya, we belong to one tribe. We like calling ourselves the We tribe. We tribe means the doctor in Kenya is a tribeless doctor, because they have to see all the patients, whether they come from whatever tribe. So we cannot afford to lean or, affiliate ourselves with a political party or with a political ideology, because at the end of the day, what matters is the health care that we are able to deliver at the end of the day for all Kenyans, regardless of which tribe they come from.
All right, since we are not going to make headway on the strike and the issues at hand, let's go to the doctors' fund that has been set up. How are you getting by? Are you getting money from this fund? If so, how is it you get the money? How much? Are people giving to it? Kenyans, are they contributing?
Maybe just to say a bit that the process of, when you talk of a fund, it looks like, people have really put out something out there to support this strike. But the truth of the matter is that our doctors have been saving. We started saving long way before this strike. And when situations arise, amongst especially, our younger doctors, then our colleagues come together and try and say, as a county or as a branch, then we can have a little fund to be able to support those ones who need it. So it's not one fund per se. It is the different counties. Remember, this strike is affecting all the 47 counties in this country. Yeah. And therefore, the different counties, the doctors in that county come together and they look at who amongst us has a need that can be addressed. And then the rest of them say, now, this need, we can address it and contribute a certain amount of money towards that.
If I may add something, the doctors have really operated in very tough conditions within this time that we've been on strike. But amidst all those, they've been their brother's keeper. So we've not allowed ourselves to see a brother suffer. We don't have a fund per se, but we've made sure that whoever is in need.
So when you said not a fund per se, where is that money going, the money that's been contributed? Because I spoke to the KMA, one of the officials, the chairperson actually, she was here last week, and she said, yes, there are some of the organizations involved with this fund, and money is being contributed to support doctors.
So I think the one you're referring to is the one that's being run by the KMA Secretariat. Right. And that one is one now of the many. Like I told you, there are 47 counties, and we have close to, I think, more than how many funds? We have several funds in the different areas. One of them being the KMA. So the KMA one is not specific for a county. It's more of a specific one where every doctor throughout the country can access that one. But apart from that, there are the several others that people have formed in their own counties to try and help the specific doctors who are within the counties. So,
sorry to interject. Time is running out, but you've talked about being your brother's keeper as far as doctors are concerned. Those watching, suffering, and we've covered many stories just about the plight of Kenyans during this doctor's strike. Who is their keeper? Who are they to blame? Who are they to call out and say, it's the doctors are the ones who are playing hardball? It's the government, it's the county government. Who is failing those Kenyans? Because tonight, as the days go on, surely there must be somebody to account.
Sophia, I'll answer that. That you do need to remember that our work as doctors is to take care of Kenyans. And this is a chain. We take care of Kenyans, but someone has to take care of our welfare as doctors. And us as doctors who are also Kenyans, and the Kenyans in the public have a father, and the father is the government of Kenya. So if our welfare is not taken care of, then in all honesty, the government has to take up responsibility.
Even when healthcare is devolved?
We have one unitary state in Kenya.
Yes.
We do not have 47 countries in this country. We have one country called Kenya with the county governments and the national government. So we have one country. We do not have 47 countries.
Okay.
It's all the government,
Yeah.
the counties plus the national government.
And what do you say to the growing sentiment in some quarters? I've seen a couple of tweets and some people have written articles that, yes, there are Kenyans that are suffering, but the situation is not as dire as some thought. Somehow, the country is managing. So some have even dared to ask the question, do we really need these doctors? What do you say to that sentiment?
Already, the Kenyans they know the hospitals are not functioning at all. So there are many Kenyans who suffer in silence, who are in their homes. Some have died, but they've not been brought up. They've not come up to the mainstream for. So we can't say that by the fact that those cases haven't been reported, that things are normal. The fact that if you go to the hospital where they're supposed to be, those hospitals are closed. The beds are empty. If the beds are empty, it doesn't mean that they are feeling well wherever they are. We've lost some of them. So the situation is bad. We need a solution as quick as yesterday.
And just to add on to that, we have a public that is a bit disconnected. We have the public that has never set foot in a public health facility. And we have a public that uses the public health facilities every day. So that is a fallacy. The truth is, the Kenyans were suffering out there, and the situation cannot be solved by the union only. It takes both parties to solve the situation.
Right.
Yeah.
And we have the clinical officers, nutritionists, morticians announcing that from tomorrow they're also going on strike. Dr. Korir, what does this mean? Do things now get from worse to whatever other level there is after that?
I think it's very unfortunate because we've had one crisis going on for 78 days. And I think by now we should have sorted that one out, get it out of the way so that you have room for handling whatever else that comes. So if the clinical officers and the other health workers come on tomorrow and say they are going on strike for the betterment of their terms of service, then we as doctors can only say that they have a right to do so. Remember, in Article 41 of our Constitution, everybody has a right to industrial action. Yeah. And even the clinical officers, everybody else has a right to that. So if there are issues that are pending for them as well, they should be handled and they should be solved so that you have healthcare issues being solved once and for all. And then you can have some industrial harmony. Even now, as people have been devolved, remember we've had several strikes even before this strike started in several counties involving all levels of health workers. So at the end of the day, if we are not going to solve the healthcare issues conclusively, then you'll always be having one sector coming up.
Okay.
Yes.
Finally, before we go, you were all in jail for 2 nights. Yeah. When you were going in, I believe you had... is it a beard or a mustache? And that is no more. Talk to us briefly about your experience.
It was quite an eye-opening experience. And my conscience is very clear. I'd like to put that to the record, that my conscience is clear. I believe in what we are trying to achieve. It's for the betterment of the country. Inside there are Kenyans just like you and me. And the jail experience is not something to probably come and sing about, but it makes you realize that even in prison, the conditions are as much worse as they are in here. Yeah. Because we do believe also that prison needs to be a place where funds need to be taken there to be able to ensure that the conditions there are worth of living. Yeah. Yeah. And the experience in general also showed us, it actually opened my eyes to the fact that the wardens, the prisoners also have needs that need to be taken care of.
We must end it there. Thank you so much, doctors, for being with us. Dr. Mwachonda Chibanzi, who's Deputy Secretary General, Dr. Daisy Korir, Treasurer, and Dr. Allan Ochanji, Second Vice Chair, KMPDU, with us tonight. We're looking forward to the end of this strike. I'm sure everybody at this particular point will hope that some consensus can be reached and the strike called off. We thank you for making time for Monday Night News. All right, in other news,